Have you ever been jolted awake by a dream where someone you thought you'd completely forgotten suddenly feels closer than your own reflection, and you're lying there in bed replaying every detail like it's a movie scene you can't pause, wondering if this means something cosmic or if you're just losing your mind because that face, that voice, that specific person hasn't crossed your thoughts in forever, yet here they are, front and center in your subconscious, making you question whether the universe is playing matchmaker or your brain is just trolling you at 3 in the morning. Here's what nobody tells you, and it's going to flip your entire perspective. That person who wandered into your dream isn't actually the star of the show. You are, and they're just playing a supporting role in a much bigger emotional narrative that your mind is desperately trying to work through. But before I blow your mind with what's really happening, let me ask you something. Have you noticed that dream guests are never truly random? There's always a thread connecting them to something you're feeling, something unfinished, something unresolved. And that's your first clue that dreams aren't supernatural phone calls from distant souls. They're actually psychological puzzles your brain creates to help you process emotions, experiences, and situations you've shoved under the mental rug. So when someone appears, they're not there because they miss you or because fate is nudging you toward reconciliation. They're there because you've got emotional homework that your conscious mind has been procrastinating on, and your subconscious is essentially saying, hey, we need to deal with this now. So let's break this down into the real reasons why people haunt your dreams, starting with the big one. Unresolved emotional business. And I'm talking about all those experiences where things ended weirdly, abruptly, or without closure. Maybe it was a friendship that fizzled without explanation, a relationship that imploded before you could say your piece, or someone you admired from afar but never got the courage to approach. All those unspoken words, unexpressed feelings, and unprocessed hurts don't just evaporate into thin air. They linger in your subconscious like tabs you forgot to close on your brain's browser, and dreams are your mind's way of finally addressing them. So when that person shows up, it's not a cosmic sign or telepathic link. It's your internal system running maintenance, trying to create resolution where none existed before. And here's the kicker. Sometimes the person isn't even the point. They're just the emotional bookmark, the trigger that represents a feeling you buried. Like dreaming about an ex might not be about wanting them back. It might be about confronting your fear of vulnerability or mourning the version of yourself who existed in that chapter. But wait, it gets even more interesting because reason number 2 is where things get psychologically fascinating. Sometimes the person in your dream is basically a walking metaphor for something happening in your current reality. Think of them as your subconscious mind's way of using familiar imagery to communicate abstract concepts. So imagine you dream about that bold, fearless friend from high school. Chances are your brain isn't missing them specifically. It's reminding you that you need to channel that same bold energy in a situation you're currently facing. Or maybe you dream about someone who hurt you years ago, not because you're stuck in the past, but because someone new is triggering similar warning signals and your internal alarm system is going off. Essentially, dream characters function like symbolic shorthand. Your mind borrows their traits, energy, or the feelings associated with them to send you messages about your present circumstances, which is why you might dream about random acquaintances or even people you've only met once, because it's never really about them as individuals. It's about what your psyche has assigned them to represent. Now here comes the part that might make you uncomfortable, but is absolutely necessary to understand. The third reason people invade your dreams is that your subconscious is forcing you to face truths you've been dodging, and these dreams tend to feel the heaviest because they shine a spotlight on your own shadow, the parts of yourself you'd rather not examine. For instance, dreaming about someone you treated poorly might dredge up guilt or regret, which is actually your conscience demanding that you make internal peace with your actions, even if you never speak to that person again. Or you might dream about someone you were once inseparable with, but lost touch with, and that dream isn't necessarily screaming reconnect with them. It's screaming you're lonely, you're craving deeper connection, you miss being truly seen and understood. So instead of immediately sliding into their DMs or internet stalking them, which we both know you've considered, try turning inward and asking yourself what current emotion or life situation is pulling this memory to the surface, because I guarantee you that's where your real answer lives.
And here's a secret that changes everything. The emotional tone of your dream matters infinitely more than the person starring in it. If you wake up feeling warm, peaceful, and content after dreaming about someone, your subconscious is basically saying, I need more of this vibe in my waking life. It's not a signal to chase that specific person, it's a signal to create those feelings through present-day choices, relationships, and self-care. Conversely, if you wake up anxious, trapped, or angry, something in your current reality is echoing that same emotional frequency, and the dream is your mind's way of waving a giant red flag. So stop fixating on the who and start paying attention to the what. What feeling dominated the dream? What does that tell you about your current state? What needs to change? Now, I know someone's thinking, okay, but what about dreaming of dead loved ones or complete strangers? Does this framework still apply? And absolutely yes, because even those dreams circle back to your inner world. Dreaming of someone who's passed away is often about processing ongoing grief, seeking the comfort they once provided, or integrating the wisdom and love they left behind. It's your heart's way of keeping them alive in your memory, while also learning to move forward. And if you're dreaming about strangers or celebrities, they're still serving as symbols. Maybe that rock star represents your dormant creativity begging for expression. Maybe that mysterious stranger embodies your hunger for adventure and newness. The principle remains the same. Dreams are always self-reflective, never truly about the other person. And when you internalize that truth, they transform from confusing puzzles into powerful tools for self-discovery. But here's the nuance that people miss. Just because someone crashes your dream doesn't mean you're obligated to take action in the physical world. You don't owe anyone a text, an apology, or a grand gesture unless it genuinely serves your healing process. Sometimes the entire lesson is simply in the recognition, in pausing long enough to name the emotion, honor it, and then consciously choose to move forward differently. Your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do, sorting memories, drawing connections, processing the beautiful mess of human existence. So don't torture yourself trying to decode every symbol like it's an ancient prophecy. Instead, treat it as a gentle invitation to check in with your emotional state and ask better questions. What am I running from? What do I need to invite more of into my life? Which old wounds are still quietly bleeding? What parts of myself have I abandoned? And here's my final thought that I want you to carry with you. The people who wander through your dreams are mirrors, pure and simple. They reflect the fragments of yourself that are demanding attention, the suppressed emotions, the ignored desires, the unacknowledged fears, the unwithheld love. And when you embrace this perspective, dreams stop being sources of confusion or anxiety and become sources of profound clarity, because suddenly you realize your subconscious isn't working against you, it's your most loyal ally, constantly guiding you toward growth, balance, and wholeness, even when the process feels messy or bewildering. So next time you wake up with someone's face burned into your memory, resist the urge to spiral. Just breathe, sit with the feeling, and ask yourself what your soul is actually trying to communicate. Because that person, whoever they are, they're just the messenger, and the message is always fundamentally the same. You have unfinished business with yourself, and it's time to finally listen. Just remember, this is all for general reflection and personal growth, not a substitute for professional guidance. These are simply tools to help you navigate your inner landscape a little more consciously, because ultimately the most transformative relationship you'll ever cultivate is the one with yourself, and your dreams are just trying to remind you of that truth. So next time an uninvited guest shows up in your sleep, thank them for the visit, extract the lesson, and then get back to actively creating the life you deserve, because that's where true transformation happens, not in the realm of dreams, but in the intentional choices you make when you're fully awake and present.